Hey folks, we're gonna talk about a couple of common themes from the ExperiencedDevs subreddit and conversations I've been having, whether it's at work or I guess even outside of work, but related to AI and specifically, I guess like different parts of the software development lifecycle where it's being used and sort of some of the side effects around volume. So in particular, one of the pain points that's coming up for folks, especially like I mean a lot of people work in teams in the workplace. So when you're on teams and having a lot of code being generated now by AI, the tax that there is on reviewing all of this code. So a lot of people saying like, hey, as more and more people are using AI to produce code, what is your strategy for being able to keep up with it, right? Because now I think there's a handful of different dimensions here, but like if you think about maybe the volume of pull requests that go up that need folks to review them, it's likely higher, right? So you have more pull requests that go up. The amount of code usually, I don't have like stats on this. I wonder if people do measured it, but like the amount of code that AI will write for a given feature or a bug fix is often over engineered, or like it's like a lot of the times we're as humans or like as writing features or bug fixes, like it's not just code additions. Like a lot of the time there's parts of it that are ripped out, and it seems like more often than not AI is like adding lots of code. Seems very rarely that it's removing. So you have that, and then you have this third layer, which is like I don't even know the right way to say it, but like this the fact that someone else that's not even the sort of like the author who's putting up the pull request, someone else wrote it. So there's like this extra level of disconnection from the code that's going up. So, I mean, there's lots of different parts of the software development lifecycle, but this one in particular, I've just listed like 3 different things that I think sort of make more work during code reviews and pull requests, and from a couple of different angles, like one of which is purely volume. So how are people addressing this, right? Like, what's the strategy here? And I guess like one way to look at this is toss more AI at it, right? Just have AI review the AI work, which may actually be part of it, but it's an interesting problem, right? And I don't know, like when I wanted to talk about this, my goal wasn't to say like here's the solution for these things, but just to get us kind of thinking about this part of the software development lifecycle and other parts as well, because when I was talking about this on Monday night's live stream, for context, because these videos go up at different times, right? It's Thursday now, so I've had a little bit of time to think about this more. But when I was streaming on Monday night, we were talking about this a little bit. And if you're interested in the streams, they're on the Dev Leader podcast on YouTube. And they're like on LinkedIn and Twitter and stuff. Like I stream them to all those platforms. But part of that conversation, we shifted over to this topic. And one of the things I was saying was along the lines of like, if we think about the software development lifecycle, I was framing it like a pipeline. And obviously it's a gross oversimplification of what actually happens, right? It's a little bit more complicated than just saying like, oh, it's a pipeline, and then like trying to draw it out, and it's nice and smooth and simple. We're humans. This is real life. There's a lot going on. So in this oversimplified model, I was saying if you think about it like a pipeline, and you think about, in this pipeline you have things that feed into it, whether those are bug reports from customers, if that's direct customer requests, if that's engineers that are wanting tech debt to get addressed, if that's product owners working with customers to file things in the backlog, like whatever it is, right? You have things that feed into this pipeline, and then throughout like the rest of the body of this pipeline is essentially like most of the development lifecycle, where you're taking these asks, transforming them into, there's a triaging part, right? You're taking the asks, transforming them into deliverables, into code. The code has to get reviewed. There's then like things like, build systems automation, whatever else, releasing. And then there's like feedback loops and stuff as well. But if we think about just this pipeline of things flowing through to have, call it like productivity, right? Like what is our throughput in terms of what we're taking through this pipeline and outputting? I think that when we try to apply AI and we look at the different spots in this pipeline, my sort of, what do you call it, like a thesis? I don't really know. My claim is, I guess, that how we're applying AI is not uniform across this pipeline in terms of productivity. And so because of that, if you were to, it's obviously, again, gross oversimplification, but if you assumed, like today, you have this software development lifecycle pipeline, assume today it's operating at, 100% efficiency, whatever that looks like. If you start applying AI to enhance different parts of this pipeline, what ends up happening is that you have more throughput at different parts, but you also have, because it's not uniform, you end up having more like choke points, right? So for example, if you have this pipeline and I said, cool, the only thing we're going to do is at the beginning of the pipeline, this person's slamming on their brakes before getting on the highway. That's some dumb stuff if I've ever seen it. God. If you only go to the beginning of the pipeline and you apply AI and you're able to get a higher volume of things feeding into the pipeline, you're actually, the net effect is like you're not actually getting more things done. Right? Your productivity, your overall throughput, the volume of value being delivered through the pipeline is not greater. You've increased the amount that you're trying to feed into it. But if this is already at capacity and at 100% efficiency, you're not adding more, right? You're trying to queue up more things, but basically it's queuing, it's not actually getting through the pipeline. Again, I realize I'm oversimplifying things. I said it's already operating at 100% efficiency. This is obviously not real. I'm just using it to illustrate my point. So, not uniformly applying this optimization of like more throughout the pipeline means you queue up at the beginning. Okay, let's forget that example and go to some other part, right? So assume the amount of work that is being added to the pipeline is consistent, but we're going to use AI to churn through more of those requests, right? We're going to, as developers, take those requirements and transform them into code deliverables. Okay? If we only apply AI there and scale that up, what happens is we might take more things in from the mouth of this pipeline, right? We're able to pull through more, but what's going to happen is that what's the next step in the pipeline? And kind of like the beginning of this talk, that next step is going to have humans reviewing it, and that's not scaling due to AI, then again, you're going to start backlogging right at that point, right? Cool, we can crank through more things coming in the pipeline, but now we're getting choked up here because we can't review the volume that's coming through. And if you keep playing around with this model, where you think about it like a pipeline, if you're not applying AI scalability uniformly to scale these different parts of the pipeline, you're going to start noticing like either what feels like an inefficiency or feels like you're backlogging things. Both are kind of challenging in the sense that the overall throughput of the pipeline's not being, I don't know, like felt by some of these enhancements. I talked about this in a video probably even a couple months back, and it's not the first or only time it's come up, but this idea of like, hey, we're applying AI at work, like where is the productivity, right? Like, you know, companies taking these big bets on going like everything AI, like, well, we were promised 10x improvement, where is the 10x? Like, developers, you have to go find this 10x improvement now. Like, it doesn't work that way, because you need to basically enhance all parts of this pipeline. So I'm not here to say like it's impossible or won't work or it doesn't work. I'm just saying, like, what I'm noticing is that when we have these conversations like, hey, you know, we have all these pull requests piling up now, how are we going to review them all? I'm like, yeah, to me this is a sign that like how much different parts of the pipeline are scaling thanks to AI is just not uniform. That's why we're feeling different parts where it's backlogging. I mean, you know, I was hinting at it, not saying it's the solution, but, you know, one such solution is like, okay, so why don't we apply AI to the next step of the pipeline? Like, why don't we say, cool, AI to help generate code, AI to help review? The funny example is obviously AI writes the code entirely, AI reviews it entirely. Like, what's actually happening? Like, we don't know. It's a black box now. I mean, I don't think that's the answer. I think that's part of the answer, is using AI to help with it. But again, it's not that trivial, because if you've seen AI code reviews, it creates a lot of volume, right? Like, you have to triage the comments that it's putting, like you would if a human was, right? If you have colleagues that leave tons of comments on a pull request, it doesn't mean that they're dumb because they put a comment that's not accurate. Like, the goal is to try and be helpful, right? Like, hey, I have a question about this, or I think this pattern might not be right, or can you clarify this, whatever. You might read some of those comments and you're like, yep, that's very helpful. You might read others and you're going like, no, that's not relevant here, or whatever else. But you have this guy's flying, holy crap. Good thing I checked before switching lanes. See you later, pal. It's not wrong or bad that there's, you know, lots of comments. It's just that it's more work. It's more work to go through. So we have this same challenge with AI. So I don't think it's just add AI to the reviews. I think that can be helpful. I think hopefully over time it becomes better at leaving more meaningful comments, just like you would hope that people that are ramped up on a team get better at leaving more applicable comments. But like, there's got to be more to it, right? I think that part of the pipeline needs to be improved. When I talk about fan-out problems, this is one of the things I was talking about recently. Like, if you think about on a team where people are doing code reviews, you might have team policies like this, or maybe it's just your practices, whatever, you know, not just having one person sign off on a pull request or a code review. Maybe the goal is to have a couple, right? Or maybe one person signs off, but you're always sending it to a couple or more people to review. If everyone on the team does this, it's literally by definition a problem that fans out. And so when you have something like this, my thought is that, like, in order to reduce the overhead that's now multiplied by the number of people it goes to, like, you need to do more up front to reduce that overhead. So if you're using AI to generate code and there's a lot of volume of it, I think there's even more on you to be reviewing it up front, right? How can you do a better job than just dumping reviews on people where there's like 100 files changed and you're like, yeah, just don't worry, it was AI, like, it's just how AI is. Like, people still have to read that. So how, like, can you better direct people to things? Can you spend more time up front doing a review on code that, like, honestly, you didn't write? So you probably should be reviewing it. What does that look like? Is that a factor in trying to make this less of a pain in the ass and a scalability issue? I don't know the answer to this. I'm just saying, I think we have to get better at this. One of the pain points, if we think about this pipeline kind of model again, one of the pain points I've noticed is people loading tons of stuff up to the front of this pipeline. And so the examples that I give are if you use AI to go read things and say, hey, AI, given a set of data, whether that's code, whether that's when I say code, I mean actual logic, whether that's version, package versions, whether that's reading through code to look for what could be a security vulnerability, whatever it is. You look through the production logs to I actually do this for Brand Ghost, look through production logs and create issues. When you build AI kind of tooling up front like this, the reality is that, kind of like with writing code, it can produce a lot, right? So it might look through a set of data and go okay, I'm going to go open up 100 work items. And so the problem with doing this kind of thing is it doesn't actually help deliver more value through the pipeline. You create more things to feed into it, but that itself is not more value. And so I've been noticing more and more things, especially at work, obviously, more things coming up like this where hey, we turned on AI to do X, and now I'm getting bombarded by tons of things where I have to go triage them. And guess what part of the pipeline I'm noticing is not having a good a good net benefit from AI. It's triaging and prioritizing. I'm not saying that nothing exists for that, by the way. I'm saying I don't notice the same scalability benefit is triaging and prioritizing. At least to the point where it's keeping up with the amount of stuff that's getting created, the work to do. So it's nuts. It's so interesting. When I think about this pipeline kind of model, to me, it's so interesting that, I think AI is super powerful. I think it's super helpful, but it's really interesting to me when we start applying it at different, what's the word I want? Different amplitudes at these different stages. The net effect that we realize, doesn't translate directly. Now, the cool part on top of that is obviously my model is overly simplified for many reasons, but one of which I was saying is hey, if you assume it's at 100% efficiency, it's not, right? It's obviously not no team, nothing is operating at 100% efficiency. So as I pull up to CrossFit here, one of the things I encourage you to think about is if you think about where your team needs more throughput, more efficiency, whatever it happens to be in terms of this pipeline model. Man, there's no parking spots. That might be a better spot to try focusing on with AI before trying to jam AI into parts of your workflow that you're cool, if we have more throughput here, it's not going to get the benefit. Right? For me now, I'm going to be a huge bottleneck if I can't prioritize effectively. And that's a problem. So I wouldn't say cool, if I could make developers, write 10x more code. I'm I haven't solved the code review problem, which is going to be a problem, and I haven't. It's my wife. And then the triaging part, I need to need improvements for the triaging part to make that more efficient. So these are things that you should think about too for your teams. But thanks for watching. See you in the next one.